Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brian. Hope you guys are surviving the Corona, COVID-19, whatever this is, lockdown thing. Hey, I just wanted to kind of let you know, like I started doing some live streams last week, and then I was raising a little bit of money for myself, and just trying to like have some fun with it. And then I got thinking, I was like, man, like everything's so depressing right now. Everything is so rough right now. I feel like we just need some positivity. I need some positivity. I live by myself. I haven't had real human contact in like a while, several days. So today I've got my friend Sunnee Yomans. She lives in Denver, Colorado, with her husband, and her husband is a broker of a real estate group, and she is a real estate photographer. However, that's not her main passion in life. She's also a missionary to the women of Uganda, and I will let her kind of fill you in and everything, but let me just see if I can bring her in here. Let's see. Boom. Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I have known Sunnee. Wow, it's probably been like 12 or 13 years now since we went to Southeastern. Well,
Something like
maybe
that.
not that long, maybe like 11 years or something like that, but 2009-ish.
Yes.
But we were friends when she was still Sunny Beltrain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Sunny Beltran, yes.
So yeah, we were friends at Southeastern. She was just always so bubbly and fun, and we've been able to stay in contact. She and her husband have been like super cool. I got to visit them when I was in Denver a couple years ago for a work trip. And so today we're just going to talk about what she is doing in Uganda. I'm going to just kind of ask her questions. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know a ton about what she's doing. So we did a little bit of prepping, but honestly, we're just kind of going to go with it, and I'm going to find out more with you. But yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and what you're doing overseas?
Yeah. So my name's Sunnee. I love Uganda. And I love specifically the young women of Uganda. And the Lord has really put them on my heart. Probably starting about 4 or 5 years ago. I've been going to Uganda since 2010 with my husband, leading trips, doing missions work there. We had stayed in Uganda for some short but extended amounts of time. But the Lord really put the young women on my heart in about early 2016. And so since then, I've just been really focused on that group, the demographic, and the Lord has just opened doors for me to really kind of hone in on that group and reach them. But more importantly, for the Lord just to guide me and grow me and humble me, and for them to really teach me as well. So,
yeah. So what, I guess I have the basic question. So what kind of missionary work are you doing? Like what kind of programs are you running? I know it's missionary work, you're spreading the gospel and all that stuff, but like talk to us about specifically like what kind of stuff you're doing.
Yeah, so I work as a reproductive health missionary.
Hold on a second. Like, are you the only one in the world? Because that doesn't.
I like to think I am, but I don't know. Maybe, yes. I don't know. It's funny because you usually don't tie reproductive health, which, I mean, let's be honest, like sex education, with missionaries, right? Like you don't think of those things together.
Right.
But they're so important. And both of those things are really important. And I really, from my experience and the things that I've been able to go and teach, I just really see that those things are so important, and they really do and can go hand in hand. And there is such an important need for reproductive health education and feminine hygiene education as well, and the gospel.
Yeah.
And so, and it's so funny because it's like we're all in this like recently we see this huge need and want and desire for like feminine, empowerment and women empowerment and things. But if women aren't really educated on these topics,
Yeah.
especially girls in, very impoverished areas,
Sure.
there's no female empowerment going on.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think that's awesome. What is so how okay, so let's back up for just a little bit. How did you wake up one morning and be like, I want to be a reproductive health missionary in Africa? Like how did that all come about for you?
Yeah. So, okay. Like I said, I've been going to Uganda since 2010. And I have to be honest with you, the first time I went, I actually had the hardest time in Uganda. I had just gotten married. I was a brand new bride. And, Uganda is not easy. Like, it's a third world country. It's nowhere, it's not, it's very different than our home, like in America.
Oh yeah,
And I was
absolutely.
very young, like 20 years old. I'd been to other third world countries or other countries before I traveled, but it was just very different, very eye opening. And I struggled, really
Right.
struggled. And, but coming home, I really prayed and I genuinely asked the Lord to give me just a genuine love for Africa and for Uganda. And he did that. It
Yeah.
took a couple years, a couple trips back, but he did that. And so I came back in 2016 to Uganda, and I had decided to teach a group of young girls, or felt led, excuse me, to teach a group of young girls how to sew. And so I fundraised for like 3 or 4 sewing machines, brought over some materials, and was able to teach about, I think it was like 7 girls, how to sew, basic sewing. And one of the girls one day didn't come. And I was like, why is she not here? Like, kind of not offended, but like, why is she not here? I miss her. And one of my, the lady in Uganda who had helped me coordinate the class told me she couldn't come because of her period.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I have some pads or whatever. I can give those to her. Like, no big deal. And she was like, well, it's more than that. Like, she doesn't have the right things. It's uncomfortable for her. And usually when girls get their periods, they literally just stay home. And about that time, literally the same trip, like that week, I had driven by a location with an intriguing name, this ministry organization, and they were doing such work where they were getting these these reusable cloth pads to girls in Uganda
Yeah.
and in all over the world, really. And so I had done some research and decided that it was my personal mission for that year to get 100 of those reusable pads back
Mhm.
to Uganda, or 100 kits, excuse me, to back to Uganda to give away
Yeah.
to those girls.
That's
And
amazing.
so, yeah, that's really where it started. And so that was the beginning of 2016.
Okay.
And so I went back to Uganda later that year. I think it was in August.
Okay.
And that was where I taught my first seminar. And
Wow.
we were able to make some kits, sewing kits, make some of these reusable pads. And along with the kit distribution, it was teaching the girls about reproductive health. So we were literally giving these kits away after teaching these girls about their bodies, teaching these girls about, sex education, teaching these girls about their periods, and everything else that goes into reproductive health education. And I'll never forget, like, that was literally where I just felt the Lord totally tell me, like, this is what I want you doing for the rest of your life. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget these girls just being like so grateful, not only for the education, but for the pads, like for the cloth pads.
Sure.
um you know they didn't have, that meant for them they could still go to school when they got their period.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
meant for them that they didn't have to stay at home and sit on their beds during that time of the month.
Right. Yeah.
And that was a big deal. Like, that's a huge deal for them.
I think as a guy, as somebody who will never understand that on a personal level, I think it's easy for me to dismiss it, or it's like, oh, that's weird, or that's kind of, whatever. But I like when you try to have some empathy and put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just thinking what that would be like in a third world country, right? Third world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Third world country where you don't have the resources. I mean, even in America, like, there are girls that struggle with these kinds of issues. And so the fact that you are such a really unique combination of, I'm a missionary, I'm here to tell you about the gospel, but I'm also going to meet this very, very specific of yours.
Yes.
That's what, like, I think I've donated to you guys. Like, I am 100% like love what you guys are doing. If you don't mind, like, talk to me about some of the challenges in Uganda, challenges about leading teams, challenges of working with people outside of your culture entirely. And then even more specifically, like, on an issue that's so private and embarrassing, like, how do you go about building those friendships and relationships?
Yeah. So just to kind of touch with what you first mentioned. So, we've been leading teams since 2010. So we've literally been, bringing people to Uganda for almost 10 years now. And so that's a lot of people that we've brought to Uganda with us.
Right.
And, anytime you're leading people, anytime you're in any kind of position of leadership, there's always room for improvement, like, forever.
Sure.
Until the day you die. And so if you're not open to there being room for improvement, then you really shouldn't be a leader. You shouldn't be leading. And so I think for me personally, like, that's always something that is on the back of my mind. That's always something that's in my mind, in my heart. You always have to stay in a place of humility. And if you're not, then you're going to have those extra challenges for you. Right. And so, I feel like I'm a pretty reflective person. Being able to look back at a trip or look back at a situation and say, wow, I really messed that up, or wow, I did okay, or wow, I could have done this different, or wow, this was a success. Yeah. And, I think that's really where the growth happens, is when you're able to be reflective. And so, I look back and, like, personally, like, there have been a couple trips that have really been like, good ministry wise and good, like, overall, like, there was great things that happened, and there were people that were reached, and the pads were just, were given away, and girls were educated, and, people were moved, and all these things happen. But on the back end, there was definite growth for me personally, or even for any other leaders on the team.
Sure. Yeah.
And even if it was painful, like, I have to look at it like it was worth it.
Sure. Go ahead. No, go
ahead. And that's just the most important part. And that's the part that, like, I, as a leader, like, you always have to be doing. And so, that is a big part of my ministry and my project, is bringing people over to Uganda with us to expose them to, to a third world country and to Uganda, and for them to fall in love with Uganda, and for them to fall in love with people that are so loving and kind. And for them to catch fire of the way, like, that I've caught fire, and not only me, but people that I've brought with me. Absolutely. And that's important.
So, question of, like, so how did you? So I know your husband Jesse. I don't know him as well as you, but I know Jesse. He's a wonderful dude. He's really with the Owaka group, Keller Williams there in Denver, right in Denver there.
Sorry, my son is in here. Give me a hug, and I need you. We're on live here. Okay.
Hey, buddy.
Hi. Okay, go to bed.
No, what's happening?
We're on Facebook Live, and I need you to get out.
Hey.
You're good. What's up, dude? How's it going?
Bad.
It's going bad. Okay. I love you.
School, right?
Levi, please go. Can you shut my door, please? So sorry.
It's a madhouse.
I was in my office earlier, but the Wi-Fi wasn't working in there.
Right. So, well, no,
Sorry, one more.
No, you're good. You're good. So what I was going to ask you is, so I know, like, so you guys are right in Denver. The Walker Group's right in Denver.
We are
Jesse,
in Denver, yes.
Jesse is a real estate agent. Is he a broker? Like, are you guys, is that your own deal or?
No, so he owns a team.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, really cool guys. So they have a team in Denver. He's a real estate agent. So talk to me about like your fundraising process and like how, actually, no, before we get to that, let's actually talk. The one question I had that I wanted to ask you is, how did you present this to your husband to be like, hey, this is what's on my heart, and how did he respond to the whole thing, and what was those conversations like?
Yeah, they were pretty good. He's always been really supportive of me and, the things that are on my heart and the things that I know that the Lord's called me to do. Which is really, obviously I wouldn't be able to do any of the things that I do unless he supported me and supported, us and supported this. Right. So, that's always been really, well appreciated and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously we have to be somewhat on the same page. So, he always helps. But definitely, Jesse's kind of, he runs a real estate team. So that's, something where his attention and his heart is at this point. So he necessarily can't travel all the time. He can't leave his team right now. That is a point where we want to get to where he can leave his team. He can leave and do that and travel with me. We travel together. However, It just takes time for him to get to that point.
Right. So you guys, there have been trips where you've gone by yourself and he stayed back.
Oh yeah. For the past since about 2016, I've been traveling to Uganda essentially on my own or leading my own trips.
Right. Because I was going to say with real estate, it's one of the things that I was pursuing there for a while. And I think one of the appeals of it is if you have the right systems in place, he could be over there.
Stuff online and, definitely. Yes. And so that is the goal.
Right. And that kind of leads me into my next question. I'm imagining that makes the fundraising process a little bit easier for you, knowing that he can still work while he's over there if he needs to, or, whatever that looks like. So now, are you affiliated with a denomination or a church, or is this Sunnee's Church of Sunnee and she's just going?
Don't say that. Don't say that. No, don't say that. No, we are not. So we were working under another ministry and under their umbrella. Right now we're actually working to become our own standalone nonprofit.
Okay.
And so
what's the name
we won't technically be under any church or denomination. It will necessarily be like a non-denominational nonprofit, I guess, religious nonprofit. But it won't be any type of, under any type of church or anything like that. No.
What's the name of the ministry? We probably should have
talk about this.
With that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
Discombobulated with my kids. Clearly I didn't handle it as well as that BBC reporter or like that.
Right.
What was it?
I know what you're talking about.
The BBC reporter, the wife, the woman who's just handling it all. I'm telling my kid to get out. Okay. I can see how loving I am. Okay. Anyway, so so it's called Sew Mukwano. SEW. So you sew, and then Mukwano. Yes.
Got it.
Mukwano is actually Ugandan for the word friend.
Oh, okay. So sewing friends is basically what it
essentially. Okay. Yes.
Essentially, more or less. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I kind of didn't really mention it before. I probably should tell you kind of what we're doing now. So when I brought a team to Uganda in 2018, and there was about 10 or 12 of us, and we had brought over about a little over, I want to say I'm probably going to get this number wrong. 700 kits of these reusable cloth pads to girls in Uganda. And one day we're at the church passing these kits out, And I'm looking at these kits and I'm just like, why did we bring all these kits over? We should have had them made here.
Right.
And my heart, like literally, I really believe that was like from the Lord. Like I believe God like literally just like gave me that idea, like just gave that to me. And it was like something just turned in me, and it was like everything from then on when I got home was, how can we get these pads made in country and not made in the United States?
Sure. That's a huge economic value for those communities too.
Exactly. Like that was
Yeah.
it for me. It was like, how can I get the materials there? How can I get the pads are actually made with a very special material that make them waterproof.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, how can we get that material in Uganda? How can we get, tailors in Uganda to make the pads? How can we get a shop in Uganda? How can we make this happen? How can we, and so, like that was huge. That was honestly like, it was like a light turned on and made it happen. So, we decided I went back in October to Uganda, and we met up with a sweet pastor, Pastor King. They're in Gulu, Uganda, up in the north, and met with about, I want to say like, I don't know, 11 to 12 women, all who are tailors, who can sew. And we taught them how to make our Sew Mukwano pads. And yep, there they are. And they are incredible women. These women are just phenomenal. They are just more amazing than I'll ever be. They just are incredible. Love them so much. They have taught me so much. I wish everyone could meet these women. But anyway, so we taught them how to make the pads. And since then, they have been a sewing operation there in Gulu. And literally these women are tailoring the pads. We've been able to get the materials to them. It's been a little slow. Like it's been a process to find the materials in country and source them there and stuff. But we've been able to do it, for the most part. And now, okay, so sorry, let me back up. Sorry, got a little excited. But they're making the pads. So did that. Then we led another trip in July, this past July, and we were able to purchase pads from these women. So now they have a job where these pads have been purchased from them, and they were able to have an income from the pads that, we bought from them. And those pads were distributed to girls all over their community. And so they had a hand in helping their own community, their own girls, and within their own town. And that to me is what Sew Mukwano is all about. It's literally all about Ugandans reaching Ugandans. And for me too, that's all about what missions and what us as missionaries is about as well. It's not about an American coming over and just stealing or taking over. It's just about facilitating and helping facilitate Ugandans reaching Ugandans. That's it. It can't rely on me. It can't rely on, an American or, a Mzungu, which is, kind of a word they use in Uganda for a white person. It literally has to rely on their work and us just helping come alongside them and empower them. So it's facilitated on their own turf in their own ways, if that makes sense. So when we came back in July, I led another team this past July, 2019. We actually opened up a shop.
Wow.
And so now these women have their own tailoring shop where they're making these pads out of. And they're able to work in there every day. They're able to make pads. They make other crafts that they can sell. And so it's just been really cool for them to have their own place, their own space. They can do Bible studies in there. These women from the church that we work with are able to come in, read the Bible, get fed the word, have host, like I said, Bible studies, women's Bible studies, and have a safe place, because a lot of these women don't have a safe place. They don't have a place of their own to go to. And so now they do.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that you said earlier, talking about having Ugandans reaching Ugandans. I think and this is a whole conversation, we could do an entire podcast on just this idea of, as Americans,
Yes.
And then as Christian Americans, sometimes with this missions mindset is, I want to go over there and I want to bring my spirituality and my understanding of my American Jesus to them.
Yeah.
When, what we're finding is it's much more effective and much more organic when we can allow them to really catch fire from themselves and then just kind of set them free to do things in a way that's more contextualized for them.
Yes.
Otherwise. So
Yes.
yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I have so many thoughts on that.
Well, that's what you're here for.
Yes. It never works well when you go into someone's turf and you tell them that you know better. Like
Yeah.
it never works well.
Right.
Whether it be missions, whether it be teaching them on sewing, whether it be teaching them about Jesus and telling them that, whether it be teaching them how to pastor church, whatever it is, it just never works well. And I really try, like, before we go on a trip, I really try as hard as I can and the best that I can with all that I have to teach my team and prepare my team to go with an open heart and open mind, and to, be as open-hearted and flexible to the culture that they're about to enter into.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
with the heart that you might not know better. Like, you're not going to know better in a culture that's been around for much, 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 much longer than you and your country has been around.
Sure. No,
Seriously.
absolutely.
Like, do you understand, like, some of these tribes that these people have come from? Like, and I mean this, like, not like, they're tribes or whatever, they're not in tribes, but like, these people, they have come from, their cultures have been around for so thousands of years before, like, your nation has been in existence.
America's a baby country. I mean, we're 200 and some years old. That's nothing.
That's nothing.
When we're talking Africa, we're literally talking the beginnings of humanity.
Yes.
Started in northern Africa. So you got.
Yes.
Yeah, I
you
agree.
have to have that mindset. And
Yeah.
it's not, and I'm not trying to tell them, like, well, I'm not trying to tell them that, like, the Bible, not to, like, use the Bible or the word of God as, truth. That's not the point. The point is it's you have to be very respectful of the culture.
Right.
And you have to understand that there is a whole culture that you have to respect as somebody coming as a visitor into their country.
Sure.
And, it makes me, like, it just always amazes me, because I always get the people who come who think they know best. And I have to admit, like, I've been that person sometimes. Like, I've been that person where it's like, no, I know better, or no, we should do it this way. But you have to remind yourself, no, I'm on your turf. And if I have an idea, I can share it, but I need to remember that, like, this is about you. It's about who I'm coming to serve. Sure. And if it's not about who I'm coming to serve, because it's about me and my ideas, then I shouldn't be here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
And, it's the same thing about, like, preaching the gospel and sharing the gospel. Obviously there are absolute truths, and obviously, like, I believe that way. Like, there are definite things I believe and share about Jesus and whatnot. However, it still needs to be done with respect for who your audience is.
Yeah.
And, fortunately with Uganda, they're the most loving, open, kind, generous, giving nation, people group I've personally encountered. And they're the most open. I mean, like, literally, when I go and talk about these topics with young women at schools and stuff, they are so receptive and open. I never have problems. Like, I rarely have problems.
Yeah.
And so it's never, an issue. But you still have to be respectful. You still need to ask and talk to, the community you're going into, making sure that they're willing to listen, they want to listen, that what you're telling them is acceptable, and having that respect just on all fronts is so necessary.
Oh, no, absolutely. Real quick, let's kind of just pivot just a little bit. I know we talked about some of the making of the pads and the business side of it. Now, I know you also mentioned education. Right?
Yes.
So what does that look like for y'all? I know I have a couple pictures here, but of you guys teaching. What does that process look like for you, and what kind of value have you seen from the actual teaching side of things?
Yeah. So, excuse me. Yeah. So we actually partner with, a church, a local church in Gulu. And then wherever we go, it is so vital that you partner with local, whether it be, churches, local pastors, local officials within the community, and making sure that what you're teaching and where you're going is not only accepted and like wanted, but that you're just doing it their way, that like you are being respectful of the community you're in, and you're not just going at it like lone dog, like lone ranger. Okay. And that's really important to us. And so like this, for instance, the last trip that we went to, we partnered with an existing health organization that are already teaching reproductive health education within the community. So we just partnered alongside them. We literally just went with them. We didn't pass out reusable cloth pads, but we were able to pass out, disposable pads to girls. And some of these women didn't even know how to use a disposable pad. They didn't even know how to use this. And we were able to teach them how to use a pad. I mean, like, amazing, these things. So anyway, so we were just able to partner alongside them. They had the schools all set up. They had the students come to this facility, this seminar, and we were able to teach, the children. They had young kids, like usually like upper elementary school into middle school range, some high school as well, comparable what would be our high school and middle school ages. And then they also had even adults, like some adults there. They had like HIV testing, HIV counseling, STD testing, those types of things. And like I said, partnering alongside what's already established is so vital and so important and really good. Like, that's such a great way to get involved with what's already there. That's the facilitating of Ugandans reaching Ugandans.
Sure.
Because we're just coming alongside, empowering you, and just saying, hey, how can we help? Like, here we are. We'll do whatever you want us to do because you're already doing it. And we don't want to come in and overtake. We'll just come along with you and do and help you. And it was great. And then when we do things, usually like in the community with the church or with the pastor or whatnot, it's usually an event that they put on. So they'll have like a conference, or they have, some kind of seminar planned, and they invite girls or even boys. We have done it with girls and boys to the seminar. And then at that point, once they're all together, then we do our education. And so I've actually written the education piece to it and had it, checked and whatnot, and kind of like backed and whatnot by other, medical professionals, just to make sure it's all kosher and it makes sense. And it's
You're not a doctor.
yeah, because I'm not a doctor. But it's all the same. Like, you really can't, it's not, another thing we're teaching them is like, so out of, the ordinary, it's all the same worldwide. It's very like, it all works the same. So, it's all education that you can find, anywhere. And I have gone through courses that have taught me these things so I can do it the appropriate way. Certified courses. But anyway, so we essentially, like I said, I've just written my curriculum, and it's on like a flip chart. And so we just stand it up and we just teach them from a flip chart and show them all the parts of the body and how they work, what their functions are, and how they can take care of their bodies, and how they can best honor their bodies, how they can honor God with their bodies, and how they can protect themselves, because that's ultimately at the end of the day what the most important part is. Like, obviously honoring God, like that is top notch, but also how they can protect themselves, because that's huge too. Like, how can they protect themselves? How can they prevent, like, getting pregnant? What does that look? Some of them don't even know how that happens. So it's like, we have to educate these girls, educate even the boys how that happens, because sometimes it's a myth, or they've heard this, but they don't know, or they think, this could stop that, or whatever it is. And we're able to give them the truth, and so they know the facts.
Is there a language barrier when it comes to education, or they're not speaking English though, right?
Actually, the official language in Uganda is English.
Oh, okay.
And so, when you're in a school, like you're in a school, they actually speak English.
Okay.
So that's not a barrier. However, when you go to a more like rural location, so maybe like a village or you're in the public, sometimes the language can be a barrier. And so at that point, we do have a translator, who would work with us and help us in those like instances. But overall, language is not a barrier.
So I want to kind of circle back. I was getting to a question and then we rabbit trailed. So this is my life. About fundraising and what does that look like for you? We mentioned that Jesse was able to do some work overseas and stuff, but we didn't actually get into the nuts and bolts. Given that you're not part of a denomination or anything like that has that kind of backing, like we went to Southeastern and it was an Assemblies of God school. Like they have an Assemblies of God appointed missionaries and they have all of the backing of the denomination. And when you don't have that kind of support system, what challenges are there in fundraising and how have you been able to make that happen?
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say, like, God's faithful. Like, he has been so faithful. It's crazy because I'm like, I don't know why I'm going to say this, but I don't know why sometimes I'm doing this. Like, literally, I don't know why God picked me. Like, I'm like, I am such a wretch sometimes. And for God to just choose me to do this is so humbling. And, I look back and like literally he's provided everything we've ever needed. And, he's told me, hey, Sunnee, I want you to open this shop. And like literally we had the funds to do it. And
awesome.
I'm like, okay, God, cool. Like I just said yes. Like I literally just said yes to the Lord. And I feel like that is honestly like, I tell everybody this. And so I'm just going to tell you this too. Like I just say yes to Jesus. Like that's it. Like I literally just say yes to God. And it's so true. Like anytime you just say yes to God, he just says, okay, like here, like, let me just show you even more of my faithfulness again and again and again and again. And even when I am so faithless, I'm such a sinner, I fall so short, he literally just continues to show me his faithfulness. It's like so good. But yeah. So how I fundraise. So I literally, first, what I was doing or have been doing in the past is I just post on Facebook and I just share with my friends. I share with my family. I don't stop talking about it. I like everyone who knows me, I believe associates me and Uganda. Like, I think that's true. And probably annoyingly, like I'm probably really annoying about it. But, but I just talk about it. I just don't stop talking about it. I just share what I'm doing. I share about the girls there. I share about my trips. I share about my heart, what God's doing in my heart. And, honestly, like the Lord's always provided. He's just always brought people into my life that has said like, hey, what do you need? And it's not like, here's $5,000 for your trip. It's usually just like little by little. But just faithfully always makes it happen.
And it's funny. It's funny you say it like that. Like, like we've been friends for years. We don't talk all the time. Like I don't see you. I don't talk to you a ton. Probably, maybe a meme on Facebook and we'll like it, something like that. But like there was a time, I think this summer, where I was bowling. I was literally bowling with my dad, and I felt like I just got this thing in my heart. It was like, hey, you should give $25 to Sunnee and the mission. And I was like, I don't have any money, God. And like,
I'm broke.
I'm like, okay, and I did, and I don't know, and it was good. And I was like, oh, it was so random. Like we're not best friends. Like we don't, we're all that stuff. When we're able to be in the same part of the country, we like to say hi. But it was, it's just funny how that works. But hey, that was just probably June. I think June or July, probably. So for those people that are watching, and those people that will be watching, I do have it at the bottom of the screen. You can follow her on Instagram, and I asked her before and add her on Facebook. So she's using her personal Facebook. Yeah.
Please, feel free to add me. That's where I update everyone on like anything Somukwano. You can also follow me on Instagram. Like, please follow me on Instagram. That's where I keep everyone posted on Somukwano. I was actually, kind of fun fact, I was supposed to be going to Uganda today.
Oh. No, you're not.
Nope. I know. And then it literally just got shut down.
Not happening. I was supposed to fly to Europe I was gonna fly to Dublin on April 14th,
Ugh.
and that's not happened. I was so bummed. I found, not side note, this is about Brian for 30 seconds. I found a ticket in October from Chicago to Dublin for $340.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, yeah, we're gonna, and I just bought it. So I've never been to Europe. I wanted to go to Europe. So it just, but it's not happening. So you know, working to trying to get my money back. But I've been on the phone with South or Scandinavian Airlines every day, and no, I have yet to talk to a human.
Yeah.
So it's been crazy, and I feel for them. Like there's empathy there. They're like, hey, like yeah, their wait queues are just probably ridiculous.
Yeah.
But seriously, like, hey, follow her. I have it at the bottom of the screen there. It's scrolling. It's kind of slowly scrolling. Instagram, Sunnee Lynn. That's the cool part about having your name be Sunnee and it's spelled with 2 N's and 2 E's. Is you don't have to add numbers to the end of your name.
Nope.
Sunnee Lynn Yomans on Facebook, and then most importantly, if this brought value to you, if you really resonated with what she's doing, you can Venmo her donations at Sunnee Lynn, SUNNEELYNN.
Okay.
Who is it?
Right, it was Jesse. I was trying to get him to say hello, but he said
come
no.
on, Jesse. No? Okay. Well, that's good. So, well, hey, this
Thank
was
you
fun.
so much. And
course.
like I said, I was supposed to go today, but
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at going in June. So there'll be updates then. I'm still fundraising for my trip in June, trying to get some more fabric.
Sure.
Our shop was actually broken into.
Oh, no.
I know it was broken into back in, I think, October. And so they stole like sewing machines, they stole fabric, and a bunch of other things. And so I'm trying to get back there in June and replenish what was stolen so we can keep the pads being made and then get some pads like distributed.
Yeah.
So if anything helps to get that done.
Absolutely. Yes. Real quick, actually, this made me think of this. How is the coronavirus affecting things over there? Has it affected things over there? Are there needs over there because of this? I'm sure, but
yeah. So Uganda is just such a, like, their culture is just so like family oriented. And so you know, right now what's happening is a lot of the people are you know, they have so the president has put the country on lockdown. They're not really allowing anyone into the country or out of the country, from my understanding. That was my situation as well. They had put like a 14-day quarantine on anyone who flew into the country back a couple weeks ago. So I was like, well, I'm not going because that makes no sense. So yeah, so right now people there are traveling to like their villages where their families are. And so when there is no job, or their jobs are shut down, there's no money coming in.
right.
And so it's harder for them to provide for their families, and not only their like immediate like nucleus family, but for their families out like in the villages, like their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, like all these families that they would normally be helping. Yeah. And so that just puts a really big strain on everyone. And so even like with our sewing shop, you know, I talked to the pastor today, and he's having a hard time like providing for his own family and then having to pay the rent for the sewing shop. Like that's just a whole nother strain. So we were kind of in contact about that, trying to figure that situation out. But fortunately, thank God, they only have, I think, like 10, 15 cases right now in Uganda. Huh?
In the whole country?
In the whole country, yeah.
Wow,
so
good.
that's excellent. Hopefully that number doesn't grow too much. I mean, it probably will, but I hope it doesn't grow too much. Honestly, the president has done an excellent job of protecting their country and you know, putting the country on lockdown early. Honestly, I think that he did a good job, in my opinion, from what I've seen. You know, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. You know, so just praying for them, praying for my family. I consider everyone I know in Uganda my family, and so I've been praying for them and hoping that they you know, they do okay, and that God just protects them and blesses them. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm hoping to go back in June. I hope it's all kind of settled down by then, but we'll see.
Well, hey, super glad that you were able to come on. This is the first time I've ever had a chat with a reproductive health missionary. So
Probably your last time, or maybe not your last time, but probably
Maybe
the
not the last
first
time,
and
but
only.
no, it's so unique. It's just and it's such a positive thing, and it fills such a need, and it's it's like a niche of a niche,
Yeah,
and
I know.
it really is. And so like I've always keep my eyes open for people doing those kind of things. But yeah, hey guys, connect with Sunnee. She will answer all your questions. It, Given okay, we'll do one more little thing here. If you wanted to go to Uganda and serve with you,
Yes.
what would that process look like?
Yeah. So right now I'm kind of revamping my like application process and my trips. Honestly, this
Mm-hmm.
year I'm deciding to not lead any teams, just for some personal reasons. Like I'm going to Uganda in June. I'm literally going by myself. Just for again personal reasons. I just want to kind of clear my head, hear from the Lord, seek what's next for Somaquano.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have a trip in 2021.
Sure.
Would love for anyone to join. There is an application process, just so we know we don't bring any crazies. um, but I would love for you to apply. Would love for you to come. Anyone who has interest would love to bring you. But there is an application process. But feel free to reach out. Like, please, like, feel free to reach out on Instagram, Facebook. I have an email address I could send you. We can talk that way. But for sure, there is, obviously it's a trip, so you do pay for your trip. But I essentially plan all of our trips. I'm looking at actually leveraging that out. So hiring a company to help me do that. They're great. And I know that they would, obviously do a good job for me and for us. And so, yeah, it's a good time. We have a great time. And it's going to look much different here in the future. So
Awesome. Well, hey, all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna head out of here. So yeah, I just listen. Like, I started doing these live streams just for fun, just to like raise money for myself, and did a couple of the sports ones. But like, I really just think like, man, I have a ton of friends that are really cool people. You met one of them in Kevin a couple of days ago, Sunnee tonight, and I mean, I want to talk to y'all. Like, I want people to hear your stories. I want to get those stories out to the world and my limited Facebook purview, but that's what the share button's for. So if you guys like these, like, yeah, we're going to keep doing them. I hope this added some value to your life. If you are interested in helping the women of Uganda, please reach out to myself or Sunnee. If you missed some of her information, if you're watching this, you're on my Facebook. So if you missed some of her information, you can message me and I will point you towards her and what she's doing. But I've got a paper to write. I'm in grad school now, so I thought I was going to be done, but then I was like, you know what? I'm a glutton for punishment. Let's go to grad school.
yeah,
So, anyways, this is fun. This was a lot
love
of fun.
it. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Brian.
absolutely. So, Sunnee, have a great night. Okay.
You too. Thanks, Brian. Bye,
Yep.
guys.
Bye.